Thanks to technology, some people in this room may be among the first humans to live for more than 1,000 years. Can you imagine a world where, in your lifetime, there are no money, a world with no jobs, and a world where nobody dies? If those ideas bother you, you are suffering from future shock. There was John von Neumann, the scientist, way back in 1947, was the first to predict runaway, rapid technical change. And he called it the technological singularity. And von Neumann said that it would take about 100 years for this to happen. 100 years from 1947 is 2047. Only 27 years from now. But even today, von Neumann's predictions sound fantastic. But with or without a singularity, we already experience change so rapid that it feels overwhelming. And now I'm saying that in the near future, we will see the rate of change increase to runaway scale. And perhaps when we reach this point where a century's worth of change happens every hour, that we will have reached the singularity. Now, how in the world can we transform from now into that fantastic future? Now, I'm sure you have some questions about the singularity in 2047, and perhaps high in your mind is, will the robots turn around and make war on the humans? That's science fiction. I'm not interested in that stuff, and my focus is not on 2047. My focus is on now. And I want to talk about 3 specific near-term challenges. But first, let's slow down a little bit. Everybody, take a deep breath. Will you feel better if I told you that we have experienced something like this once before? In colonial America, the colonists needed 98% of the people to work on farms and producing food, and that left only 2% free to do other things. Today, those numbers are reversed. We need only 2% of the people to make food, and that leaves 98% of us free to do other things. Things that could not have been imagined in the year 1700. So yeah, we did it before, but we had 300 years to adapt to those changes. This next time, we have less than 30 years, only 10% as much time. All right, challenge number 1, jobs and money. Von Neumann's predictions had a rational basis. He says that machines will take over all the jobs. It's not because machines are smarter than humans, it's because humans resist change. People drag their feet, machines don't. And therefore, when the machines take over, progress will be able to go on at inhuman speeds. So if the machines take over all the jobs, that includes your jobs. That's scary. We need our jobs to survive. We need our jobs to provide for our families. What will we do? There's a solution proposed for this, and it's called the universal basic income. And if we had the universal basic income, it would pay money to all adults regardless of needs. And with a universal basic income, we could break the link between jobs and survival. But I also think that we might be overemphasizing the importance of money. And here's why. The same machines that on one hand take our jobs away, on the other hand are producing huge quantities of goods and services. And throughout history, as long as demand exceeded supply, we used money to make a fair allocation of stuff. But the instant the supply significantly exceeds demand, money will become obsolete. And if that happens, the need for a universal basic income will be only temporary. But it better happen fast. The singularity is only 27 years away. Challenge number 2 is social stigma. In today's world, unemployment carries with it a horrible social stigma. Our society works on the basis of the work ethic. We consider work to be a duty and a virtue, and money is the reward for work. Loss of work is a disaster. And able-bodied people who don't do their share of the work are a disgrace. Unfortunately, that stigma has a toll. It has a part of America's opioid crisis. Millions of people who lost their jobs due to automation feel worthless. They lack hope. What do you think the universal basic income might do to that problem? Initially, it might make things worse. But eventually, as we approach 50% unemployment, we will be forced, like it or not, to adopt new principles. Work will be a privilege, not a duty. And money will no longer be the reward for work. Let me say that a different way. People will be able to have security and nice stuff as a right, not as a reward. And those few people who still do have jobs will be considered among the privileged few. What do you think? Do you think society can make a turnaround on the work ethic in less than 27 years? I do. I'm thinking about the civil rights decade of the 1960s. I'm thinking about the year 2014 when we had a massive public flip-flop on the issue of gay marriage. Our society is demonstrating that we are learning how to handle social change nearly as fast as technical change. Challenge number 3. Researchers are doing a wonderful job on things that kill us, like cancer and heart disease. Other researchers are looking at the aging process itself as a disease that they can cure, so that even old people might be able to have healthy young bodies. I'm not talking about some Star Trek movie in the distant future. This stuff is on our doorstep right now. And if people can manage to live for just 100 more years, science may improve so much that they become immortal. Immortal? Holy mackerel! What will that do to religion? What will it do to marriage? I foresee a huge social divide between people on one hand who expect to die sometime and those who don't. Let's try that out. If you expect to die sometime, raise your hand. Not much division out here today. That's I see pretty much every hand. Well, some of you may be wrong. You may have to revise your expectations. Or maybe not. It occurs to me that if I was offered an immortality pill today, my answer would be no, thank you. What would your answer be? Think about that when you go home tonight. Now, try to imagine your own family in the case where the children are immortal and the parents are not. So many of our life experiences that we share from one generation to the next would no longer be shared. And so while parents might continue to worry about jobs and money, Their children need to worry about the population explosion that began when people stopped dying. And while parents will worry about climate change and preserving the finite resources of planet Earth, the children may be thinking about abandoning planet Earth to populate the galaxy. Man, oh man, this immortality stuff is such a game changer that it makes issues like jobs and money and social stigma seem trivial by comparison. But hang on. Children will still be children. Children need our help to become adults. And children and their parents will still love each other, I hope. But that gives me confidence that our most important social institution, the family, will survive intact. Now, I don't own a crystal ball. I can't predict the future in detail any better than the weatherman can predict the weather next year. My 3 examples might not come true. 2047 might not be the correct year. But we can forecast climate. And the analogy to climate in this context is change. John von Neumann's prediction of runaway rapid change is rock solid. Now, I know I've hit you with a lot of new ideas in a short time here today. It might feel overwhelming. That's the point. That is our destiny. We will see changes coming at us faster and faster and faster and faster. It may feel overwhelming. But in all 3 cases that we looked at, we found reason to believe that we can handle rapid change. In 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "There is nothing to fear but fear itself." Stop fearing change. Instead, we should embrace rapid change as our new normal. We're ready for the singularity. We can handle it. Bring it on. Thank you.